Congratulations to the you are the NCAA champions. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for March Madness, and with that comes some NCAA tournament brackets. So I just thought, why not take a chance to fill out a bracket, put it on YouTube, and let's see what you guys think about it. So I'm just going to go seed by seed, game by game, and we'll see how the bracket goes. So we're going to start with the first four, which is tonight. Unfortunately, I won't probably get this video in by tonight on YouTube, but the first four are tonight. And first off, we have Norfolk State from the MEAC. They beat Morgan State in the championship game in their conference tournament. And they'll be going up against Appalachian State, which are the Sun Belt champs. They happen to beat Georgia State in their conference tournament. So for the first game, I am going to go with App State beating Norfolk State. So App State will be the 16 seed going up against Gonzaga. So unfortunately, I don't think they will be winning many more games in the tournament besides the one against Norfolk State. So I will go ahead and circle App State. So next we have the 11 seed, Wichita State against Drake. Wichita State lost in their semis in the conference tournament, and Drake lost in the Missouri Valley Conference Finals. They happen to start 18-0, but for this game, I think I'm going to go with the Shockers out of Wichita State to beat Drake, and we'll face USC in their next game. The other first four game that features two 16 seeds is Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern. And Mount St. Mary's beat Bryant in their conference tournament out of the Northeast Conference. And Texas Southern happened to beat Prairie View in their conference tournament out of the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So out of these two teams, the winner will be facing number one seed Michigan. I am going to go with Mount St. Mary's, or known as the Mount. And with the final first four game, it happens to have two 11 seeds, two powerhouses at college basketball as well historically. Michigan State and UCLA. That winner will be facing number 6 seed BYU. And with that, I am going to be going with Michigan State to win that. So Michigan State will be the final team to complete the 64-team field. And now I can get into the heart of the bracket, filling out each region. Starting with the right side, which is the South and Midwest region. These teams will be playing Friday, March 19th, and then the West and East regions, I'll fill out second. Those teams will be playing March 20th. So starting off with Baylor and the Hawks out of Hartford, I will be going with Baylor. There's only been one time that a 16 seed has been a number one seed, so I'm going to go with the odds here. I feel like it's a safe bet. Virginia fans, I feel like they may be saying otherwise just because they're the only team to lose to a number 16 seed. Baylor has actually happened to be one of the top two teams pretty much the whole year, besides Michigan's creeping into number 2 for a week. But I think they'll have their way with Hartford. Even though Hartford is a conference champ, they beat UMass Lowell in their conference tournament. I think it's safe to say Baylor will win convincingly. So I think it's a safe bet to go with Baylor. So Baylor will face one of the next two teams. They both happen to have down years in North Carolina and Wisconsin. Usually they're not a number 8 or number 9 seed. And North Carolina, I feel like, is usually a 1, 2, or 3 seed. Wisconsin, maybe a top 5 seed. But this year just wasn't the year. Maybe COVID got the best of them. But an 8 or 9 seed for North Carolina, Wisconsin is very, very rare. But I'm going to go with North Carolina to beat Wisconsin, and it will be Baylor and North Carolina in the next round. Next up, we have an intriguing 5-12 matchup between Villanova and Winthrop. Villanova did not win their Big East tournament. They are without their starting point guard, Colin Gillespie, even though he was already named, I believe, a second-team All-American. Winthrop, they won the conference tournament in the Big South Conference, beating Campbell. Hashtag Rock the Hill. They are from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Winthrop is coming in with only one loss. However, I think it's just a Villanova powerhouse to beat the 12 seed Winthrop. I believe they're Eagles. Could be totally wrong, but I think they're the Eagles. This could be I don't even want to call it a Cinderella just because they have one loss, but it could be a Cinderella story. But I'm I'm going to go with Villanova to beat Winthrop. Next, we have Purdue and North Texas in the 4-13 matchup. North Texas did win their conference tournament, beating Louisiana Tech in the finals. I feel like Purdue was just an above-average team this year. Nothing too fancy. They won the games that they were supposed to. But I do think Purdue will handle the Conference USA tournament champions and move on to face Villanova in the next round. So Purdue over North Texas. For the bottom half of the South region, we have Texas Tech against Utah State. It is a 6-11 matchup. If you ever get a chance to just go on YouTube and type in Utah State home crowd chant, it's a really, really cool scene where they go winning team, losing team, winning team, losing team. It's just awesome. So they did lose in the Mountain West Conference championship game to San Diego State. Texas Tech, they are still the runner-ups from 2 years ago, since 2020 didn't have a tournament due to COVID. But in their conference tournament this year, they did lose to the eventual champs, Texas. However, being from the Big 12, I feel like there is better teams to prepare you for the tournament. So I am going to be going with Texas Tech over Utah State. So according to me, Texas Tech will now be playing either Arkansas or Colgate. Colgate does come in with a 13-game win streak. They did win their conference tournament against Loyola Maryland in the Patriot League. However, Arkansas out of the SEC, again, better play, better teams to prepare you for the tournament. Colgate could be another Winthrop story, being a Cinderella. However, I am going to go with Arkansas to face Texas Tech in the next round. Next, we have a 7-10 matchup. I feel like 7-10 and 8-9 are just throw them in there. They usually aren't conference tournament champions, and they aren't high in the rankings for their conference standings in the regular season. It's just your pretty much average teams from the start to finish of the season. So for this 7-10, we have SEC's Florida against ACC's Virginia Tech. Not too much to say about these two teams, just average years, average seasons, but I have to pick a team, and I'm going to go with the Florida Gators. So Florida will either be playing Ohio State or Oral Roberts. Ohio State lost in their conference tournament championship game to Illinois. Oral Roberts did win their conference tournament championship game in the Summit League. They did beat North Dakota State. However, 2-15 matchup, I'm going to go with Ohio State Buckeyes. As much as it pains me to say, but Ohio State will win this game against the Golden Eagles of Oral Roberts. So one region is set in the first round. They got 8 teams selected out of the 8 games. They will be playing Friday. And now time to move to the Midwest region, also playing Friday. So first up, we have 2 conference champs in number 1 seed Illinois and number 16 seed Drexel. Drexel won the Colonial Athletic Association, beating Elon in their conference tournament championship game. And Illinois, like I said before, they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament championship game. But again, just like I said before with Baylor, there hasn't been a 16 seed that has beaten a 1 seed except for one time. I'm going to say this is not going to be the second time, so I'm going to go with Illinois to beat Drexel. Illinois will be facing the winner of the 8-9 seed game. This one is Cinderella inspired, just from 3 years ago. This one we have number 8 seed Loyola Chicago along with Sister Jean. And we have number 9 seed ACC champions Georgia Tech. I'm going to say I don't think Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago Ramblers will be winning a game. I'm going to go with the ACC champs Georgia Tech to move on and face Illinois in the second round. Next, we have a 5-12 matchup between SEC's Tennessee and the Pac-12 champs Oregon State. Oregon State, they were picked to finish at the bottom of the regular season of the standings in the Pac-12. They managed to, I believe, 7th, possibly 6th, but I believe 7th. And they were a surprise to win the Pac-12 Conference Tournament Championship game over Colorado. Tennessee happened to lose in the semis of their conference tournament of the SEC. I don't want to say it was a fluke for Oregon State. However, I am going to go with Tennessee to move on to the second round. Tennessee will be going up against the 4-13 matchup winner. The 4 seed is Oklahoma State, featuring star freshman Cade Cunningham. And they'll be facing Liberty, the Atlantic Sun champs. They happened to beat North Alabama in their conference tournament championship game, which propelled them to the NCAA tournament. But I think it is going to be too much Cade Cunningham for the Liberty Flames to move on. So therefore, I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. Next, we have a 6-11 matchup between the Mountain West Conference regular season and tournament champs San Diego State Aztecs against the 11 seed Syracuse Orange. I believe the Syracuse Orange are only in the tournament due to Jim Boeheim, the Syracuse coach's, I believe his son, was able to propel them to the NCAA tournament only because he made one shot against North Carolina at home to beat North Carolina by 2. I really feel like that gave the experts pretty much a reason to put Syracuse in, and that's why they fell to an 11 seed. So with my pick, San Diego State is the regular season and conference tournament champs of their own conference. However, I feel like with March Madness, who knows what could happen. Syracuse, 11 seed. I'm going to go with Syracuse. Syracuse will be facing the winner of the 3-14 matchup of West Virginia or Morehead State. Morehead State is the Ohio Valley Conference champion. They beat Belmont in their conference tournament final. West Virginia, they've been pretty much top 10 all year. They didn't win the conference tournament. They didn't win the regular season. They are a 3 seed, but I do think in all, West Virginia is the better team, better than Morehead State. So West Virginia Mountaineers moving on to the second round. The 7-10 matchup of this region features the Clemson Tigers against Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Typical 7-10 matchup. One was tied for 5th in the standings of their conference. One was tied for 6th in the standings. Flip a coin, 7-10 matchup. Clemson Tigers, you can move on. Clemson will be facing the 2-15 matchup winner, which is Houston or the 15 seed Cleveland State. Houston was the AAC champions. They beat Cincinnati. Cleveland State was the Horizon League regular season and tournament champion. They beat Oakland in the conference tournament final. So with that, Cleveland State, congrats on a great year, regular season conference tournament champions. However, the Cougars out of Houston, they'll be moving on to the second round to face Clemson. All right, one half of the bracket done. Actually, it's not even half. One half of the first round of the bracket is done. Next, we got Gonzaga against the winner of Norfolk State and App State. Again, like I said at the beginning, I picked App State to beat Norfolk State. App State is the Sun Belt Conference tournament champions. That's why they are in the tournament. However, they are going up against the number 1 seed overall in the tournament, undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs. Gonzaga is trying to be the first team to be undefeated throughout the whole season since the '76 Indiana Hoosiers. I'm pretty sure, just like Baylor and Illinois, Gonzaga should have no problem with App State. Sorry to Mountaineers fans in Boone, North Carolina. However, I believe Gonzaga will win convincingly. Gonzaga, you're moving on to the second round. Gonzaga will be going up against either the Big 12's Oklahoma or the SEC's Missouri. 8-9 matchup. It's a boring matchup, I think, just like 7-10. So flip the coin. Missouri, you're going to move on to the second round to face Gonzaga. Next is a typical 5-12 matchup where the 5 should be scared to lose to the 12 seed. Creighton is the 5 seed in this circumstance. They got whooped in the Big East final to Georgetown. They'll be going up against the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. They happen to win the Big West regular season, and they defeated the UC Irvine Gators in the Big West Conference Tournament final. So UC Santa Barbara, they're conference champions. Creighton, they're not really coming in with a lot of momentum, I feel like, after getting beat by Georgetown in their conference tournament final. Look for this to be a pretty competitive game. I want to say UC Santa Barbara. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays of Creighton. So sorry Gauchos, but Blue Jays, they're moving on. Creighton will be going up against the 4-13 winner. 4 seed is Virginia. Just like I said with Texas Tech still being the runner-ups from 2 years ago, there hasn't been a champion since. So this year, Virginia is still the defending champs. They'll be going up against the MAC champions Ohio Bobcats. They beat Buffalo in the finals. Ohio, they've been a regular in the tournament from the MAC. However, Virginia, being the 4 seed, being from the ACC, even though the ACC, I believe, happened to have a down year, Virginia, moving on, they're going to face Creighton in the second round. Next is USC, the 6th seed, and they'll be facing the 11th seed Wichita State or Drake, but I picked Wichita State. Nothing to say about this matchup. USC lost in their conference tournament semis. Wichita State lost in their conference tournament semis. Wichita State, historically, they are mainly a Cinderella team. However, I'm going to go with the Trojans out of USC. USC, good job. You're going to the second round. USC will be facing Kansas or Eastern Washington. That's up to you to decide. However, for me, Kansas, they lost in the Big 12 semis to eventual champions Texas. Eastern Washington, they happened to win their conference tournament, Big Sky Conference. They happened to beat Montana State in the finals. However, it is Kansas in March. Kansas, you're moving on to the second round. Next, we have a intriguing matchup for a 7-10. I know I said 7-10s are usually boring, flip up a coin, but this one has 7 seed Oregon. They did lose in the Pac-12 semis, but they were the regular season champs. They are going up against VCU out of the Atlantic 10. They lost in the Atlantic 10 final, so they're not the conference champion, but Atlantic 10 was able to provide, or I guess have, 2 teams in the tournament. So Oregon, VCU could be a good matchup. I believe Oregon will win by 7 points though. Oregon, you're moving on to the second round. Oregon will be facing the 2 seed Iowa or 15 seed Grand Canyon Antelopes. Iowa, they feature Luke Garza, National Play of the Year candidate. Grand Canyon, they did win the WAC, beating New Mexico State in the conference tournament finals. Just like I said with Utah State earlier in the video, I recommend YouTubing Grand Canyon's home crowd, home games. Let me know in the comments what you think about that if you look it up. So Iowa, Grand Canyon, going with the Hawkeyes. They'll face Oregon on the second round. Final region in the first round, we have the 1 seed Michigan going up against the 16 seed Mount St. Mary's or Texas Southern, but again did pick Mount St. Mary's, the Northeast champs. Michigan did struggle down the stretch. They are without Isaiah Livers. I don't know, who do you guys think I'll pick? Oh jeez, it's a hard choice. It's a 1 seed versus 16 seed. I don't know. Okay, I'll go with Michigan. Michigan will be going up against either LSU or St. Bonaventure. LSU lost in the SEC finals to Alabama. St. Bonaventure was the Atlantic 10 regular season and conference tournament champions. They beat VCU in the tournament final. The Bonnies, I believe, are not going to win. Therefore, the Tigers of LSU will be facing Michigan in the second round. Next, we have another intriguing 5-12 matchup between Colorado and Georgetown. Colorado lost in the Pac-12 conference tournament finals to surprising champ Oregon State. Georgetown, they finished 8th in the regular season in the Big East standings. However, like I said before about Creighton, Georgetown whooped Creighton in the Big East conference tournament championship game. So Georgetown is coming in with a lot of heat, a lot of momentum. Colorado, I believe they've been ranked pretty much the whole year, maybe between like 18 to 25 in the rankings. However, with Georgetown having a lot of momentum coming in, Colorado just losing in their conference tournament championship game, I will be going with the 12 seed Georgetown Hoyas. Georgetown will be facing either Florida State, the 4 seed, or UNC Greensboro, the 13 seed. Florida State lost in the ACC tournament finals to Georgia Tech. UNC Greensboro, they are the Southern Conference champs for the regular season and tournament. I don't think that matters in this NCAA tournament, however, because Florida State will be playing Georgetown in the second round. Next, we have a 6-11 matchup between BYU and Michigan State, or UCLA, but I picked the Spartans. BYU, they were winning the West Coast Conference championship game against Gonzaga. I believe they were up by like maybe 15. But Gonzaga was too much in the second half to beat them 88-78. So BYU was the conference runner-ups, I believe, in the regular season and tournament. Michigan State, they were pretty much nowhere beginning and middle of the season. However, they came on strong late in the season. Late in the season, they happened to beat 2 number 1 seeds and a number 2 seed in the tournament as of right now. They beat Illinois, they beat Ohio State, and Michigan. So with that, Michigan State playing in March, Tom Izzo the coach, they're playing great towards the end of the season. BYU, after struggling late in the second half in the West Coast Conference Championship game, I'm going to go with Michigan State to move on to the second round. Michigan State will be going up against the 3 seed Texas Longhorns or 14 seed Abilene Christian. They are both conference champions. Texas winning the Big 12 conference tournament, beating Oklahoma State in the finals. Abilene Christian winning the Southland Conference, beating Nicholls State in the conference tournament finals. However, Classic 3-14 matchup, I believe Texas will be too much for Abilene Christian and move on to the second round and face the Spartans. We have our final 7-10 matchup. I know, flip a coin, 7 seed UConn, a 10th seed Maryland. I gotta say, Maryland, out of all the teams that I've already listed, they are the 9th and final team from the Big Ten, which is the most for any conference this tournament. So you could do best 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7, flip a coin, UConn or Maryland. I'm happy to go with Huskies from UConn. UConn will be going up against either number 2 seed Alabama or number 15 seed Iona Gales. Alabama was the regular season and conference tournament champions out of the SEC. Iona, they were the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, or the MAC. They have Rick Pitino as the coach. Iona happens to be Rick Pitino's 5th team that he's taken to the tournament. I believe that is a record, or tied for a record. I don't have the stats in front of me, so take my word, look it up. Don't believe me. I don't care. But Rick Pitino's Iona Gales will be losing to Alabama. Alabama will be moving on to face the Huskies from UConn. First round, done. Moving on to the second round. All right, let's see. We have Baylor or North Carolina. We got the 1 seed against the 8th seed. Baylor will be too much for North Carolina. Baylor, you will be moving on to the Sweet 16. Baylor will be facing the 4 or 5 seed Villanova or Purdue. Without starting guard Colin Gillespie for Villanova, I believe Purdue will be too much from the Big Ten, and Purdue will be moving on to face Baylor in the Sweet 16. Next, we have the current runner-ups, Texas Tech going up against Arkansas, Classic 3-6 matchup, SEC, Big 12. Nothing really to say here. Arkansas, you're moving on to the Sweet 16. Arkansas, you'll be going up against number 2, Ohio State, or number 7, Florida. I'm going to assume you want to go up against Florida, same conference. But Arkansas, you're not going up against Florida because Ohio State will be beating the Florida Gators. Ohio State, good job. You're going to Sweet 16. Moving on to the Midwest region, we're going to be looking at number 1 seed Illinois against the ACC champs, number 9 seed Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They're both conference tournament champions. However, Illinois has the National Player of the Year, Ayo Dosunmu, along with Kobe Cockburn. I believe they will be extending Illinois' length into the NCAA tournament by 1 more game into the Sweet 16. Illinois, you're going to the Sweet 16. Illinois will be going up against the 4 seed Oklahoma State Cowboys or number 5 seed Tennessee Volunteers. Cade Cunningham, projected number 1 pick in the 2021 NBA draft. Tennessee, they were as high as I believe 7 in the rankings earlier this season. Oklahoma State, they played in the Big 12 Conference Championship game. However, from the SEC, I believe Tennessee will be moving on to face Illinois in the Sweet 16. Next, we have a 3-11 matchup between West Virginia and Syracuse. Syracuse, sorry, but your championship run ends here. West Virginia, you're moving on to the Sweet 16. West Virginia will be playing against the 2-7 matchup winner, Houston or Clemson. Got nothing for you, Clemson. Houston, you're moving on to the Sweet 16 against West Virginia. Moving on to the West region, Gonzaga against Missouri. Gonzaga will still be undefeated after this matchup. Gonzaga, you will be playing in the Sweet 16. Missouri, go on home. I'm still regretting picking Creighton over UC Santa Barbara, but Creighton, you're going up against Virginia, the defending champs, and unfortunately for you guys, this will be the end of the road in the NCAA tournament. The defending champions, Virginia Cavaliers, will be moving on to face the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Next, we got the 3-6 matchup of Kansas and USC. USC are going home. Kansas in March, Sweet 16. Good for you. Kansas will be going up against the 2-7 matchup winner of Iowa and Oregon. Oregon, your regular season champs out of the Big 12. Iowa, you weren't the regular season champs in the Big 10. You weren't even the conference tournament champion. However, you were a top 10 team the whole year. And you have Luka Garza. Luka Garza's huge. Iowa, you're going up against Kansas in the Sweet 16. Final region for the second round, we got the East region. Number 1 seed is Michigan. They'll be going up against LSU, the 8 seed. LSU, you made it to your conference tournament final, losing to Alabama, like I said before. Michigan, they struggled down the stretch. You were the regular season Big Ten champions. You lost in the conference tournament semis. So 1 made it to the conference tournament final, 1 made it to the conference tournament semis. Michigan wasn't really a choice. Michigan, you're moving on to the Sweet 16. Michigan, you're going to go up against either Georgetown, which is having a really great run throughout the Big East tournament, coming in at 12 seed, or 4th seed Florida State. Florida State, another great year out of the ACC. They made it to the ACC tournament final where they lost to Georgia Tech. Georgetown, Cinderella story ends here. Michigan, you're going to be facing Florida State in the Sweet 16. Next, we have a 3-6 matchup against Big 12 champion Texas against the Michigan State Spartans, who have already won 2 games in the NCAA tournaments thus far. It is March. Like I said before with Tom Izzo, you never know what you're going to get. Usually it's a deep run in the tournament. However, Texas, Big 12 champs, it's just too much for the Spartans. Texas, you're moving on. Texas will be facing either Alabama or UConn. Pretty easy. Alabama, regular season champions and tournament champions in the SEC. UConn, fill in the blank. Not sure what to think of them. Alabama, you'll be facing Texas in the Sweet 16. Oh, time for a stretch. We're done with the second round. Moving on to the Sweet 16. We have a classic 1-4 matchup between Baylor and Purdue. Baylor's been a top 2 team thus far throughout the year. Purdue, pretty much a top 5 team in the Big Ten regular season standings. But Baylor's too much for Purdue with an All-American on their team. Baylor, you'll be moving on to the Elite 8. We have a good 2-3 matchup in this region with Ohio State and Arkansas. Big Ten SEC matchup, you always want to see those in college football or college basketball. For this matchup, however, I will be going with the Big Ten Ohio State Buckeyes to move on to the Elite 8 to face the Baylor Bears. Moving on to the Midwest region, these 4 teams are the 1, 2, 3, and 5 seed. First off, we have the 1-5 matchup, Illinois versus Tennessee. I believe Illinois will be too much for Tennessee to handle. Illinois, you'll be moving on with the National Play of the Year to the Elite 8. Next, we have a 2-3 matchup between Houston and West Virginia. I believe this will be a high-scoring game in the mid to high 70s, but West Virginia will win by 4. West Virginia will move on to the Elite 8. Moving on to the West region, we have Gonzaga against defending champions Virginia Cavaliers. Gonzaga, you're just too powerful. You have 3 All-Americans on your team, and you'll be moving on to the Elite 8. Gonzaga, you'll be facing the 2-3 matchup winner between Iowa and Kansas. Kansas, college basketball powerhouse. Iowa, not necessarily a powerhouse at all, but they do have Luka Garza, and with that pretty much alone, Iowa, you will be moving on to the Elite 8 to face Gonzaga. Next, we have Michigan against Florida State, a 1-4 matchup. Michigan, they are without Isaiah Livers. That still worries me. However, Michigan will win by 2. Very close game, low 60s, probably like a 64-62 game. Michigan, you're moving on to the Elite 8. Michigan, you'll be facing the Alabama-Texas 2-3 matchup winner. Both are conference tournament champions, with Alabama also being the regular season champion. Alabama will be too much for Texas, and Alabama, you will be facing Michigan in the Elite 8. Time for the Elite 8. The winners of all these matchups I'm about to say will be playing in the Final Four. So this is where you really want to win, just because you'll be playing where the Indianapolis Colts play in the big old stadium. So, first game in the Elite 8, we have the 1 seed Baylor against 2 seed Ohio State. Baylor, like I said before, top 2 team except for 1 week throughout the whole season. Ohio State, the record doesn't really show how good they really are. They lost in the Big Ten tournament final to Illinois. They have plenty of good players. Their whole starting 5 is really, really good. So I am going to go with Ohio State over Baylor. Ohio State, you will be in the Final Four. Next in the Midwest region, we have Illinois against West Virginia. With Ohio State already winning, I'm going to think they are going to want Illinois to beat West Virginia. which they do. So Ohio State and Illinois will be playing in the Final Four against each other, which is a rematch of the Big Ten championship game where Illinois beat Ohio State, but look for that to be a classic matchup. So again, Illinois will be beating West Virginia. Illinois, you're moving on to the Final Four. This next game is probably the game of the tournament. Gonzaga against Iowa. Both have superior big men, Luka Garza and Gonzaga's big man's name, Timmy? Last name Timmy? Timme, maybe? I don't know. But they also have Jalen Suggs and Kispert, but Gonzaga will win mid to low 80s, about an 87-81 win over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Gonzaga, you're going to the Final Four. Final Elite 8 game features a classic 1-2 matchup, Big Ten, SEC, Michigan, and Alabama. I don't like this matchup at all. I don't like my pick. I'm going with the Alabama Crimson Tide, as much as I hate to say it. Without Isaiah Livers from Michigan, I don't like it. Juwan Howard's a great coach. He'll have them ready. I really hope I'm wrong, but Alabama, you'll be moving on to the Final Four. We got the Final Four all set. We got Ohio State against Illinois, Gonzaga against Alabama. Big Ten championship game rematch between Ohio State and Illinois. Ohio State wants that revenge. Illinois has the National Player of the Year. It could be an overtime game, low 80s, but I will be going with the Fighting Illini to make it to the NCAA championship game. Illinois will be facing the winner of Gonzaga and Alabama game. Gonzaga, they're trying to be the first undefeated team since '76. Alabama, they're trying to become a household name like they are in college football. So 1-2 matchup in the Final Four, Gonzaga, Alabama. It would be nice to see Alabama in the finals just to a little change it up since Gonzaga was there a few years ago. However, I am going to go with Gonzaga to remain undefeated to face Illinois in the championship game. I haven't looked at any of the stats, but I feel like my championship game is probably the second most popular pick, Gonzaga, Illinois. I believe the most popular pick for a championship game is Gonzaga and Baylor, but I'm going to go with Gonzaga, Illinois. Pretty good matchup, I think. Gonzaga, again, with 3 All-Americans, Illinois with the National Player of the Year, along with Kofi Cockburn, which I believe was a second or third team All-American. But congratulations to the Gonzaga Bulldogs. You are the NCAA champions and also the first team since '76 to be undefeated for the entire season. Congrats. We did it. All right, we filled it out. Gonzaga, Illinois championship game. Gonzaga Bulldogs, you're the national champions. 2021. Amongst all the COVID and pandemic and quarantine, we got through it. That took a while. In reality, it took like over an hour to fill out this bracket. But stay tuned for my next videos. It'll be the ESPN logos, and also I will be featuring my favorite logos from the NCAA tournament. So stay tuned for those next 2 videos. And you know what? Give this video a like. Comment what you liked about it. If you like my picks, comment down below. If you hate my picks, comment down below. Share the button, subscribe if you want. Anyways, I'm out of here. Peace out. Deuces.